That's what I'm curious to see, because now with this advanced draft stage that we've only had in these tournaments since last week, teams are naturally still learning to deal with it, whether it's in scrims, whether it's even like they might even practice amongst each other. That's what teams might do in other games, right? Of just kind of doing mock drafts to see exactly what directions you can take things in. But All Business first banning out the Captain America is something that they were doing before, but I do like the way that they adjust around it, because they're still able to remove one of the major vanguards, the Magneto or the Emma Frost. So this is something that All Business have done in the past so far, but it also does make sense when you're going up against Satamoto. They did it in the series that they played last, back when these two teams were 0-0.
Lownine, Wolver. Banner and Picker here. They've missed their first pick. First ban.
OGC.
Someone call Wolver.
Surely something's gone wrong there. Has Wolver, because he's in the lead, has he like DC'd? Is this something that gets done again?
I don't
OGC, they're like, okay, it's not just us. It's not just us.
Yeah.
I don't know if Wolver's just here, because there have been a couple of teams that have like maybe crashed on the way in, so this might be It's a odd predicament. There's no way that he missed it because he's like, it's his birthday of all things. He's just like, everybody, there's like 5 people in his background being like, happy birthday to you. And he's like, please, not now. No, please, I'm trying to draft. No, they are back. Okay, so OGC again sat thinking, okay, we didn't mess up this badly to miss the first pick and the first ban. What on earth happened?
Well, this is their time to try and make that recovery as they have returned. This has allowed All Business to grab the #1 priority hero in EMEA right now. Magneto is on the board, but Lownine, they return in time for the Psylocke to get removed. If they can't really deal with a front line or a back line because it's prioritized now, they choose a different target. With limited options, you pick one, and they have decided that Tuzi is going to be the person to get banned out. If you look at their picks, they have played Psylocke, Torch, and Punisher, and they have just removed 2 of those 3. And All Business, they let a ban go as well.
What's going on?
Clarity.
Is there some mind games that are happening here? You said a gentleman's agreement. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll maybe. Okay, so one player did crash during the draft. That's like confirmation. It's gonna sort of go as is. So I wonder if that is a little bit of like almost sportsmanship from All Business of like, okay, we'll miss a ban too, because these are important games, but both teams have qualified to playoffs. So regardless of who we get in the interviews later on, that's question number 1. Because if All Business have messed up as well, that's just funny. But if they're actually like giving this up and are like, no, we want to like, you know, it's fine, then credit to them. I guess we're gonna have to see though. That's a first, to say the least.
We assume best intent until told otherwise. We're going to assume that they are All Business in name, but all manners in life here, as we see that Loki as the final protect for Lownine, giving himself a little backline protection, and they just banned every single character that Tuzi has shown so
yeah. Oh my god.
Like I said, if you can't try and zone out the strategists, if you don't have enough of actual ban slots left to try and ban out a Vanguard, or to at least try and gain some Vanguard control, you pick one person and you say, this is a threat, let's do what we can with what we have. It's just managing resources. Yes, it's unfortunate that they didn't get that ban pick, but they are capitalizing and making the most of what they have.
All right, all of the people that are co-streaming a watch party, and all you beautiful people you can also get drops from as well, talking to you specifically, you now have to, with that draft, explain why they've gone that direction, as if it was a legitimate thing. That's your challenge.
The challenge.
Yeah, other than like Tuzi, don't give LeBron the ball. Make sure that he doesn't get like his main characters, but I'm sure that Tuzi will be fine to play on whatever in this case. But yeah, for both sides, you don't really have. We were talking so much about like the meta evolving. I think this has hit its like apex. I don't think we get any crazier than this, but it is domination. Anything could happen in this rate. Both these teams qualifying already want to see how far they can push it, or at the very least get a few more reps. Luna Snow is going to be available for closer, and Tuzi over on the Star-Lord.
First Starlord we have seen them play so far, but without an Adam Warlock or a Mantis, leading with that Lunar Snow to just try and keep them topped up with that Snowball. Lownine, though, they've still got a lot of the tools that they love to play here. Gonski's on that Loki. We talked about it. It's snuck on through. Same for Snos. We have Wolver playing the Emma. They're insane on it. Saitamoto on Venom. These are all heroes. They like Jerky on Psylocke. An insane matchup earlier. And we do see the Frenzied Arrival trying to punish this high ground positioning. Lovely lockdown onto Saitamoto, who does get that symbolic resilience off and is able to retreat back to their team, but with Starlord continuously applying the pressure.
Yeah, Saitamoto trying to copy a little bit of what Nevix was able to do before with the dive, but when you're up against the Loki, having a Loki and the Lunar Snow available for all business seems to be like, how long has it been since we've seen that? And then also the Magneta and the Emma Frost, like these are just comps that you don't get to see anymore, so it's a bit of a breath of fresh air. We do see the copy, the God of Mischief getting that Fate of Both Worlds, and it's rolling back the months again to the Invitational Tetcher, with both these teams sustaining themselves out and going for this fight.
Two on their favorite character here, according to their own notes, as in comes the Kraken Impact, also something familiar to the previous Invitationals and MRCs. There's Loki clones, here comes Winter Soldier, as Slowpoke able to capitalize and push back the members of Lownine, but Lownine are still able to be holding relatively okay so far, as All Business have only just grabbed the point. They're up to 17%.
It was All Business that I think actually lost the first map in this series on domination before against Lownine. I'll have to check my notes, but obviously on the other game modes able to bring things back. Jareki has been somebody that Lownine can rely on when it's a bit of a pinch. He's trying to push back Tuzi away from this upper high ground, but you also have to look a little bit at Crisis. No Punisher available, obviously, so it has to be on the Hela. The Goddess of Death is good to go, but it's trying to find a good position, and the Silent Seduction actually coming in from Lownine might be the main thing to come through. Meteor M available for 2-2. Not able to get an elimination, but it's keeping Lownine away from this point as it ticks up in favor of All Business.
All Business taking control. You mentioned it, and you were correct. Lownine did win that first matchup versus All Business. All Business have yet to score a map in any series they have lost, whereas Lownine have yet to lose a series or even win a series without at least dropping and taking one map. They are such a consistent team, always taking everyone to the limit. But right now, this is a rough position to be in, but they're making the most of it. Pushing it on in, trying to chase them back, keep that Venom topped up, trying to focus onto the Magneto. Pin Clone pushing on in, looking for that Fate of Both Worlds, is in from the top rope. Silent Seduction is taken down by Jerky.
It's taken everything. The kitchen sink, 4 ultimates thrown in for Lownine, and they still haven't quite got the point. Now they've managed to clear it, but All Business getting to 90%. They're going to be happy. There's some ultimates that they still want to build up, notably the strategist ones, that combination of the Loki and the Luna. But Slowpoke switching over towards that Bucky. We'll have the Kraken Impact fairly soon. And it's who's going to be able to get these strategist ultimates online first.
It's 91% for All Business. Lownine have claimed the point, but like you mentioned, they burned through so many reasons to do it as Crisis gets sniped by the Man Cannon into the main and auto attacks from Doom, who is popping off on this Magneto. It's so rare we get to see it, and they are making the most of it. Here comes the Kraken Impact from Slowpoke to try and take out these high grounds, takes out Gonski onto the Strange that was swapped in for a little bit of reinforcement, but they are being burst down. Wolver falls. Jerky was able to sneak away, trying to get the duel without getting picked up and sent into that final hit mode from that Kraken Impact to give a reset, and will be able to draw this out, but does eventually get taken down by Tuzi.
Lownine not looking to be able to contest at all. All Business, it felt like they just did enough progression and enough damage early on to make that work. And honestly, it is just a bit of a nostalgia trip, I feel like, which, considering the game has not even been out a year, feels crazy to say. People are going to be catching the ball and be like, wait, no, this can't be right. Like, we're seeing the Lunar Snow and the Loki both available. Basically, the main characters that are all banned out in the advanced stage are available in play here for both sides. That's the crazy thing.
You look at this draft, if you didn't see Emma, you absolutely would be like, wait a second, this looks familiar. What's going on?
This is season 1. What is this?
Hey, Blade has woken up. Well, it's the wrong map for Blade, but we do still have the lovely Black Panther having a nap. While they don't make an appearance in the game, they do make an appearance in our hearts always. As we're seeing the rollout on the second point here, can Lownine utilize this draft to try and bring it back with that Venom pressure that they've been attempting to apply onto the backline with the help of Jerky?
Oh, look at our business though. Not only were they able to cap the first point, but they have 3 major ultimates good to go for this first engagement. When it comes to looking at what Pinklo and Gonski have available, not too far away, at least over halfway for both of these strategist ultimates to keep people up. But Znost going down first actually is a great shot from Crisis. Might turn things in favor from Lownine.
Crisis is an incredible hit scan player. Has been doing so much work on the Punisher recently. Now finally being forced onto this Hela. Wolver taking a lot of damage as Fate of both worlds is going to be dropped by Gonski with that God of Mischief immediately backed by Closar as they're attempting to push on back Lownine to the one playing aggressively, but that's going to allow the Meteor M to take out Crisis. Sainamoto though gets closer on the backline, forcing Znost to also drop the God of Mischief.
And the fight held on so far. Aggression at a neutral stage. Somebody needs to cap the point first, but it's looking like all business, despite having that first elimination against them, have enough about them. It's more the fact that Pinklo didn't get to use the Fate of both worlds on their side as well to keep that fight going along. But Lownine having plenty to work with ultimates-wise. And Jarecki, I'm really looking at him to just find that opening. It's going to be hard, but he has to be the initiator here.
It's such a rough situation to be in because, as you mentioned earlier, that Loki being in play is so good against backline. Dive Crisis gets sniped by Tututut as they are trying to get onto these backlines. Loki Regeneration Domain can shut it down. Jerky and Saitomoto, though, another pickup by Tututut, pushing it onto all these damage dealers, playing just incredibly aggressive on the Vanguard Magneto to create these openings, and they are zoning out Lownine right now.
They're so good at playing at like that effective range where that splash damage can just be annoying. Saturday Seduction trying to punish just how far these players from all business are pushed up, but it's going to be used on the other side. Fate both worlds just coming out beforehand, and you can see that there's a couple of players that have been pulled in with the commands of the Emma Frost. The Garmin Crush not going to be catching anybody, just a bit of CC. There's way too much healing on the board so far, up until all business, and yet again it's that Vanguard lineup that finds the burst damage, finds the pick. That duo is deadly. It's irritating, it's annoying. You even have the team up that's going to come in to just add these extra clones to make things incredibly frustrating for all business. But it's the same as the last point texture. Lownine looking to pick up things now, but there's so much progression on the side of all business, they're not too upset about it.
Crisis with the turnaround there, first to go down in the fight, first to return, and was able to capitalize on weaker opponents. They're going to try and go for a forward hold, but they are the one who is out alone, away from their team here, getting topped up by the Loki. Looking for anyone out of position. They could try and go for a Soul Siphon to lock someone down here and get a pickup. Lownine, they have to defend further forward here because they can't afford to give up the distance. Regeneration Domain coming in a little early here as all business are pushing up, making the most of that early defensive ability being burned.
Oh, Sainamoto wanted to just dive on in. The Fate of both worlds forced out early, but I guess it means that if you can sustain this fight, you can catch them afterwards. The God of Mischief's out, so there's plenty more dancing to be done. Bit of a celebration, and the Dance of the Butterflies is going to be the nightcap to put this one to bed. Maybe the encore song for all business as they're looking to pull things back into their favor. The Sound of Seduction just keeping things quiet now, as all business likely to at least take this up to 99%, especially if they can catch Sainamoto, who's trying to disengage and reset as quick as possible. Now it's whether L9 could go for the contest. Wolver swapping over to the Doctor Strange, so the portal play is going to be the action here. Knockbacks are going to make it a bit more precarious to jump in onto the point, but they activate overtime.
We're playing very slow there to make sure that Saitomoto can return as they swap over to the Ember Frost. Goddess of Death from both sides, but the Strange is in position. Wolver giving everything they can to try and buy some time for their team, and currently, Lownine Crisis finding at least a couple early pickups, trying to go for the duel onto 2Z, but they have an extreme numbers advantage. Lownine take yet another fight, but they burned everything in order to do that, but so did all business.
Well, business having some time to work up towards it. That's why Crisis is playing such a high line. Can just catch a couple of nice shots and all business aren't necessarily paying attention. Somebody could get reset very quickly. Goddess of Death not going to be something that's going to farm up particularly fast, but whether some extra healing can come in, could get Konski up to having a God of Mischief. The siblings connecting nicely. And Jarecki, he's been very good at finding these picks. Dance of the Butterfly was very effective. Doesn't have it available just yet, but Slowpo is the one that finds that first pick in this fight.
Here comes Turkey into the backline. They can take out Loki early, forces the regeneration. Though that removes a lot of sustain. Kraken impact was burned, found no reset. Crisis the first to go down. Quickly swaps to the Starlord for the quick re-engage. But Jerky sniped by the Media M. Magamoto. But that extra Fate of Both Worlds trying to keep them up. Slowpo will fall here. They're capitalizing. Welsh Mania pushing on in and Lownine. That overtime is ticking down while they have control. But All Business is going to try and reinforce. Crisis gets 2-2 after the fast roll out with that Starlord, and this is Lownine starting to recover. Fate of Both Worlds though from closer is going to delay this. There are no main strategist ultimates left available. Pinkload is the closest on 89, 91. The Galactic Legend is already charged.
Well, Crisis frozen for a second with Jarecki. Now this is where they start to come alive, and it might be enough to get Lownine over the point. The objective is in their favor, but overtime is being held down by All Business that are doing their best to just keep going, to just keep bodies on the line. There's 2 left now, and they're being very irritating and annoying. And it might be enough for Crisis to find the clearance, and he does. Really, we're seeing the domination games go the full distance, and a third mapper required here yet again. It was Lownine that picked up this map the first time that these two teams met. They really need, I think, honestly, really be needing to pick up this one if they want to get the win.
Lownine with the recovery there. Crisis, the swap onto Starlord to reinforce quickly. Wolver with the slow jump on. It's if you touch the point within a couple seconds of the timer ending is how you activate the overtime. You don't actually have to be standing on it the second that timer hits 0. So Wolver dived in, took a load of damage, and then dived out for the quick map heal from their own spawn to allow their team to make the way in once Saitomoto respawns and turn that round. While Toot has 11 final hits of their own, most of which have been with just regular attacks as opposed to Meteor M's, but they have found a couple. This is where Lownine love to fight. They love these quick backline blow-ups and the ability to roll out fast. A lot of that, we did see a rework onto Jeff, obviously, but Jerky could have been doing that back in the day as they used to be one of those big backline Jeff players.
Really, the main narrative of this map is Tuzi was hit hard with the bans that were taken out. Can he still find the same success here when he doesn't have the Psylocke, when he doesn't have the torch? Well, Mischief is going to be used, but the ultimate not necessarily dedicated or just yet. Jarecki, though, with that little bit of resource added on top of him, it means that this fight is going to lean in their direction. The Eye of Agamotto catching up to 2, but the Maelstrom catching up the breakpoint, making sure that the support ultimate, the Fate of Both Worlds, isn't able to keep people alive. Wolf has done terrific work there, and Lownine take the point first.
Wolver is so cracked. They are absolutely insane. The Eye of Agamottos, they always make sure they're fully charged on that Maelstrom of Madness, and we've yet to see an ultimate where they haven't got at least 1 KO, and at that time they found 2 and then followed it up with another 2 later. Soul Siphon coming on out from right now Lownine, who hold the defensive position, and this time have been able to cap the point first and are ticking up.
Slowpo has the Kraken's impact in hand, and this is a good amount of damage. Really forcing out that regeneration domain early, and up on the stairs, everybody's been pulled in. The Psionic Seduction doing the Lord's work as the Meteor M finding nothing this time, however, for 2-2. Psionic Seduction going to be used on the other side, but Tuzi being able to get into that Goddess of Death just beforehand. More pot shots than anything, forcing everybody into this backline, and you just saw Welsh Mania dive in from distance, clearing people out, and a lot of pressure and point has been put in onto Jarecki. The Dance of the Butterflies finding one before Slowpo sends him back with the rest of the team, and All Business making a point blue here for the first time.
And they didn't even have to use the Kraken Impact, the God of Mischief, or the Fate of both worlds. Very quick rollout again from Lownine, using the portal early here, as we already have Eye of Agamotto charged up. They do not want to give All Business a second to recover. Kraken Impact coming in, does not find the first reset as they try to look for anyone, but they're getting zoned out quickly into the Goddess of Death to try and burn through, but they are picked off. Beautiful focus, Eye of Agamotto, and again Wolver finds the pickup on Satuzi as they push on in with the extra healing, but with their ultimate expiring, Crisis going down. Lownine are starting to run out of sustain. They're forced to back up a little as Snos is turning this round. Tutun is dropped low, and that Psionic Seduction is zoning Lownine.
Wolver has been finding all of the connections, maybe not all of the players been stunned by Eye of Agamotto, but it's the Maelstroms, it's this burst damage that's coming through from Lownine to just really get by two of the strongest strategist ultimates to keep people going. All Business just can't seem to really find that connection, and I'm not too surprised realistically. How long has it been that you've been able to run this in scrims to get that practice in? A couple of changes coming over. Welshmania moving over to that Captain America. Did have the Emma Frost available, but wants to go for something that has a little bit more dive, a little bit more proactivity, and really push things over the line as Lownine take the lead on progression.
Also try and keep some pressure onto the backside. There's no Winter Soldier from Lownine to really try and lock down this Captain America with Bionic Hook or a Soldier's Fist, meaning that those backliners, that Luna, a little bit vulnerable. Fate of both worlds going to be forced down as Jerky was taken out immediately. Welshmania dropped low, but the siege of the Loki healing is keeping them topped up as they are taking a huge advantage here. Pinkloak and Godsky will Fate of both worlds, even though they're down 2 members, to try and delay this, to try and get some extra time, but they are taken out.
I mean, fundamentally, you're maybe looking at that a little bit more if you're Lownine, because yet again, you had both the strategist ultimates available. You used Fate of both worlds, the copy for Gonski first in that fight, but you still lose 2 people through the duration of it because the burst damage is still there and it's still very prevalent. So Pinkclone, it's nice that they still have the Fate of both worlds themselves over on the Luna, but now it's all going to be thrown in. Some good stuff built up for All Business at this point. 99% on it for Closer, who has the Loner ultimate good to go. It feels like it's a game of chicken, Tetra. Who's going to use it first?
Look out for that Eye of Agamotto. This is how we've been seeing. What a wraparound from Tuzi. That might have just completely changed this game. On 98% versus 91. All Business in control. Fate of both worlds going to be dropped. Kraken Impact will not find the reset. Jerky looking for the turnaround, for the save with the stars of the butterfly, but it's being sustained. And they interrupted the Eye of Agamotto with the crystal, with the carbon crush. And this is exactly what All Business needed as overtime is ticking down. Wolver is the one on the point. They can't portal because they're here and they're getting zoned out, picked off, and it's quick running in. Reinforcements to try and buy every second, but All Business have control, and they will take game number 1.
Getting revenge onto L9 that took this map against them last time in that earlier matchup. And a grueling fight, you've got to say, for Tuzi, not the same level of highlight reel this map that we're so used to seeing. But those final couple of moments, those final eliminations that he was able to pick up with the wraparound, like you mentioned, they're the ones that really highlight how good of a player this guy is. Below 9, you have to bounce back a little bit, knowing how strong All Business are at the Convergence and Convoy game modes. It's been an interesting draft, but we got ourselves an interesting matchup here too.
We did see a little bit of redemption from Tuzi, literally having their entire pool banned out. They were still able to get over 10 final hits, showing just how powerful this Hela can still be. While it's played a little bit less, just due to how it fits into the meta right now and how much protection it does need, they were still able to play it incredibly well. Crisis also showing just how strong they can be after their Punisher was banned out by the side of All Business, taking advantage of that little bad lead that they had in the early stages.
Yeah, it's certainly one to put an asterisk on, just with all of the characters being available, with so much going into like what characters are the highest priority, which ones can we give up. All Business just having enough about them. It's a team that haven't necessarily played all that long together. They have experience from previous games and been on teams in previous games together, but I've only recently started playing in the bigger tournaments. Probably, I think, Season 0 Championship more than anything. But it's a damn sight longer than Lownine, who have only put together this roster for the second set of open qualifiers. Yeah, it was still a grueling matchup. It was just the synergy and honestly, the target focus. Being able to get eliminations through those big support strategist ultimates, the 250 HP like healing per second ones, it shows just how much All Business are focusing on the right targets.
Let's look at some statistics here, though, because while this doesn't mean a lot, it does mean that Lownine know how to recover from going down a map first. When they played against All Business, they won the first map and played exceptionally well to do so, taking several rounds off of All Business. Since then, they've had a rough journey through this lower bracket versus Blood Udo, where Blood Udo took map number 1, and then Lownine took games number 2 and 3 in their match against Schmungus. Schmungus took map number 1, and then Lownine took maps number 2 and 3. Lownine have shown that they are untiltable, and they're not going to let this bother them. The question is, will they be able to take on All Business, who did take that first time these two teams matched up?
I think the majority of the series for these two teams have been full free mappers, so they're expecting the marathon, and I wouldn't expect anything less. So let's see exactly where L9 want to take us for this second map after a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody, and we are one game in to All Business versus Lownine. All Business, they took this series the first time it happened in those upper bracket quarterfinals, but Lownine, they have yet to play a series where they haven't won at least one map, and have obviously won every game since that match, because they have been able to fight their way through this lower bracket to get to this point. Can they keep the spree going? If that's the case, Lownine should win this.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw the likes of Central Park being picked up by them, but that was a map that All Business actually had an incredibly strong attacking side on. 3.5 minutes to complete the whole map, which was the only time I think we've seen that map in place so far in Ignite. It's fair to say, Tetcher, I can't predict what the picks and bans are going to be for this one, especially after that last game. Who knows what's about to happen?
I really do love what Lownine did. Again, they obviously had that unfortunate disconnect at the start, but they capitalized on it, and we did see a focus onto Tuzi, who did insanely well on that Hela. But you've got a question: would they have done better on the Psylocke, on the Torch, on the Punisher, these characters that we've already seen them play? Because they have been dominant, and we've been talking with Moxie previously in the cast we've done. It's kind of looking at that Psylocke, and you gotta ban it. Was this the plan all along, to just look at Tuzi and say, no, you don't get any of the toys, you don't get any of the figgy pudding?
Yeah, and I think they even sort of said in the interview yesterday of just like, yeah, Zenost is like every team bans Psylocke against us. But the beauty of that is that you can sort of switch over Tuzi to another character very easily, and you get an extra sort of ban in their face to go for something that they don't get a comfort on. And so far that has been a lot of focus over onto the strategists specifically. But L9 have the map choice here. They have 2 of the other game modes to choose from. We can't go to a domination, for example, and they are going to be taking us back to Midtown. So not quite Central Park, but the same part of the map pool. Do they go for a ban first? Okay, thank God. Crisis is the one in control here, because Wolver hasn't looked at the character, which worried me.
All right, so we're going to see the very early, once again, All Business targeting Saintamoto. They have an almost 100% win rate in Ignite with this Captain America, so taking it away. They've learned their lesson from last time. So far, Magneto's going to be mirror banned for both sides, and right now, one-sided Loki for Lownine. They could take this away from All Business.
I think, yeah, Lownine here, gonna opt for the Psylocke first. But that second ban, you would assume, would come in to try to catch the Loki, because this is something that has been a consistent second save for All Business. They've made sure that they've tried to grab the Loki as and when they can, but no. Lownine is sticking to their guns here. They're still trying to take out Tuzi's map pool, hero pool even.
This was the plan. We see a lot of focus onto strategists to try and take out these big healing outputs, but that has led to the rise of Mantis and onto Cloak and Dagger with these damage buffs, vulnerabilities, extra protection. But in this case, Lownine, they believe they have identified the problem. They have decided that to do the exact same thing, but this time they've banned out Magneto, who was a huge impact in that previous matchup.
Seem to have maybe a save over on the Invisible Woman. Or the Punisher do want to have a little bit more firepower themselves. To all business, more of a standard draft that we've been seeing. Cloak and Dagger still on the field for both sides. And both teams, we sort of mentioned it in the brief pre-show, going for the Emma Frost, so those two main vanguards not going to be available at all for Lownine at all on this map. But when you've got Saint Amoto and Wolver, they were playing what? You know, they can't have Captain America, but they can play the likes of Venom. Hulk has been hovered over for Saint Amoto. Wolver was on the group beforehand. All business have Wolverine available at least. But awkward. Tuesday especially thinking, why always me?
Tuesday, though, here is a risk that Lownine have taken. They have left open the Lunar Snow, which opens up the possibility. We've been seeing it a little bit in the Americas with the help of Self. We have been seeing a little bit of a creep on that team up of the Lunar Snow and the Hawkeye, and it is terrifying. That crowd control is rough to deal with, but the question is, how much have you practiced this? Because Hawkeye has kind of been like not seen at all since like season 0 and a tiny bit in season 1. So being able to just pick that up and say I'm ready is going to be a bit more of a difficult feat. As such, looks like Tuesday is going to stick with something a little bit more comfortable and is looking at that Hela once again.
And before people type in Twitch, or just any like streaming chat as well, just like, well, actually this got nerfed as well in the most recent patch. These games are on the old patch up until playoffs, I believe. So the stun is still as long as it used to be beforehand. I guess all business want to make the most of it before it gets changed.
So opening up, we see the more coming in from Slowpo here. They're making the most of the fact that their damage dealers did get very targeted, so they needed something with a little bit more sustained, and to try and punish Saint Amoto or Jerky. Jerky has taken to the sky with the Human Torch.
No eliminations, I think, coming in from either side yet, but Lownine pushing past this first area of the map that can be often cheesed and held down for just a little bit more time. Now all business have to really start engaging this. These group walls are going to put this Emma Frost in a bit of an awkward pickle. The Welshmania able to escape for the time being, and even actually gets the revenge onto Wolver, who's been taken out first.
Jerky's putting in the damage output. We have been seeing so many bads on Team Human Torch, including by Lownine, with the Torch dropping insane damage output, and then the Punisher landing a couple of the finishing blows. This is a hard composition to defend against due to how much damage output it delivers, but they have the Loki to protect against the backline dives. They have the Namor, very rarely seen, but can get a lot of bit of the auto-targeting, very safe and very dive-resistant, thanks to that aquatic blessing. It is very strong, but they're very single-target blow-ups with at least their main attack output compared to Lownine, who can drop some massive AoE.
I guess one of the things as well of like Lownine not finding out the Luna on the other side is that it makes it very easy for a Loki to copy it. You almost want closer to be on that character. They'd have to fate of both worlds, but because there were a number of eliminations went against all business, they want to reset. They don't want to over-dedicate any of these bigger ultimates, and with Welshmania swapping over towards the Doctor Strange, a portal might be here in the nick of time, might not even be necessary this time around, as you got two suitors just leaping in as this Hulk, forcing back Slowpoke, forcing out some of these bigger cooldowns to just keep that mitigation up and alive. Saint Amoto finds a pick. We do see the Supernova also used from Jarecki. It's just trying to funnel out a little bit more. Strangled Prison not connecting onto all that much other than Closer, which again used to fade of both worlds just at the end of it, taken out. And now that Goddess of Death just taking these shots in, allowing Toot to just pummel down people. And whilst he goes down to Bruce Banner, the damage might be good enough to keep these resets going, as Wolfer is now on the other side finding these pigs. Tetcher, it's come and go for both these squads.
It's back and forth, come and go. In comes the Venom once again. Saint Amoto going aggressive onto these backlines. There's only a few meters left to go. Wolverine has arrived because that Groot is in play to try and look for a turnaround. Will we see Wolfer swap it up? As right now, all business were able to drive back Lownine. Wolver, they're dropping the exact same strat that they did when they had to push out previously. They are going with the Storm and the Human Torch and the Punisher to just overwhelming damage break it with this Firestorm.
Final judgment going to be used from Crisis. He has been so good at cleaning up the shop, but he hasn't really had to run into too many Lunar ultimates on the other side, so it's a little bit of a damage boost, really. Now you've got the copy going into the Zenost as well. It just means that this fight ends up slogging on just a little bit more. Tuzi, through all of the stuff, the hubbub on the point, finds the pick over on that Hela. Now Jarecki, Supernova from behind the ambulance van. Is it going to be an ambulance for them, or at least not for me? Lownine fighting on the Omega Hurricane with that combination that we saw last time as well. The team up with the Human Torch, making this way too much damage for All Business to keep on top of. But they're dealing with the heat. They're staying inside the kitchen, and they're still holding on as overtime looms.
Saitomoto swaps to the Strange for the reinforced portal. Jerky on the Wolverine of their own to try and clean up. Tuzi was taken down. Wolver gets Slowpo, and in overtime, where Lownine seem to like to live, they're pushing on through piece by piece, trying to get onto that backline, taking out Tuntutun, and they're running out of members. Here comes Tuzi though with the fast rollout on the Star-Lord. It's been a saving grace for so many teams that they get forced physics and taken out with the Windblade.
Wolver's run back as the Storm, so it is just Saitomoto solo Vanguard at the moment. He's got stunned and he's very close to an Eye of Agamotto. It's just whether he can survive this onslaught from Slowpo. Jarecki gets the response back, and the point still hasn't quite got to the end, although it's looking pretty much a pixel away. That might be the difference from separating these two teams in this game. We got the portal now that was used and sat on the whole time. It's Tuzi that's on it. He's been taken out on so many characters. He's decided to switch to a different role, but it's not enough. Lownine, Crisis, he's able to get the combo in, clean up house, and finally, Tetcha, they hit the checkpoint. Deary me.
The portal last-ditch defense with Freedom Charge. Normally, giving you that bonus health might be enough to hold it. We saw Insomnia capitalize on that so well, but Saitomoto on the Strange this time, as the players have been just on and off rolls all over the place, able to get that Eye of Agamotto. The angry man from Brooklyn, locked down, unable to hold this line. And look at Tuzi. They have swapped off the Hela. It is time for Iron Man to try and siege away at this single Vanguard to punish them for being alone.
Yeah, it's odd because you don't have that team up as well either with Hulgus. Just Tuzi's just ran in on it. Maybe the sort of burst of the ultimate is going to be enough to clean up house, and with so many bodies stuck together, just a right click might be enough here. Wolver has been making the Storm work, to be fair. He finds another pick onto Welshmania, and triple ultimates now thrown in from the attacker side to just get past his main choke. You do have to silent seduction from Tututsu, but it didn't stop all that much. It's mostly that God of Mischief from Zenost that's keeping things going and actually allowing All Business to get control of the payload once again.
Wolver used the Omega Hurricane to escape there, really getting zoned out. That is a big cooldown to burn, but it's better to stay up and in the fight when needed. Jerky has moved on to the Psylocke. They're sticking with the triple duelist strategy here by just overwhelming damage, but Tuzi has just been piling on pressure. Welshmania on the cap has been running in behind. When there's this many squishies, you like to play cap to keep the pressure on them and keep them distracted.
I mean, Welshmania's been very good on this, especially when you get into high-octane fights where you have to be a little bit more creative and All Business want to be a little bit more coordinated. Price is now over on the Hela himself, trying to just perch up on the high ground. Not going to be seeing Goddess of Death all too soon, but that Fate of Both Worlds, I don't know what pushed it out in the first place. You got the Iron Man pulse come through, not connecting onto much, as both these Lokis copying up onto the Luna ultimate. The Eye of Agamotto only catching onto one, but the follow-up is still there again from Saitomoto. Lownine put on the back foot, now starting the counter-attack. Overtime, it doesn't seem to be a concept for them to deal with. They're going to keep things going, and All Business looking for a final contest here again, potentially.
Lownine are so fast at recovering. They're going to portal block the doorway to try and give themselves a reinforcement. All Business, they did not have a Strange. They are just going to have to walk all the way around the outside. But every second matters. Here comes Welshmania to try and buy the extra time. Wolverine going to be diving off to the point to try and focus down onto that Groot that has been brought in from Wolver. Struggling prison. Fate of Both Worlds to try and buy time, but it's not enough. And they're still going. Lownine refuse to go quietly into that dark night.
Not as often as a grueling fight that we saw in that first checkpoint, but a decisive one for Lownine. Another 90 seconds granted on the board. And this is usually where things tend to stop, just shy of finishing out the map. For all business, couple of other adjustments. Slowpo moving over towards the Winter Soldier. And Welshmania, third Vanguard is picked up now. The group trying to go for a fight, see if he can match up to what Wolf has been able to do.
Making their way onto the point, Jerky up to the high ground. Lovely Soul Siphon has to use the Shuriken Sweep to dash out of danger. Will be healed up by the Guardian Barrier. It is interesting that we have seen that swap here of Saint Moto on the Doctor Strange, showing that they can play it just as well. And well, maybe you already mentioned on the group of their own, building up to that straggling prison, setting up some very nice walls to put the pressure onto Wolver and Saint Moto to zone them away from their strategist. Jerky drops low. Wolver able to find Toon dance with the butterfly into the backline to try and take them out. Gets the double. The strategists are down. That's all the sustainable business, and that card is gonna keep moving. Lownine from overtime to Avengers Tower. They're almost there.
You gotta keep their composure going, because if any cracks start to form, Dreki's going to turn it into a gaping chasm. It might tear all business a new one if they're not careful. Now they have all of the ultimates to sit on one. They need one clean fight as we go into overtime yet again. And there's the strangling prison crack and impact combination. It's a lot more clean, it's a lot more swift. Just clearing out Wolf is going to be it. And finally, it's looking like all business have put a stop to this one. Gonski stalling for a little bit more, and all business sigh of relief, but must be thinking that could have ended a lot sooner.
Gonski tried to use that regeneration domain to buy enough time for the respawn to allow the portal for their team, but 143 meters and 6 centimeters is an incredible push by Lownine through already point A and point B. This is absolutely holdable. All business. They just got taken almost all the way to Avengers Tower and now have to mirror that against that level of output of damage that we just saw from Lownine. I think they have to put on the performance of their tournament lives. Of course, they are qualified for the playoffs, but it's about the principle.
We see that, like, look at the top left. It's not even like the stats I want to see. It's just as a reminder, sorry, top right of what the bans have come in over onto 2Z. Like, really focusing on taking out some of the big hitting elements, and 2Z's able to hold his own. Like, his hell has not been bad, but it's just not the same level of character that we've seen from a Punisher, a Psylocke, a Human Torch from him. It really is a case of, like, 2Z's like, I've had so much focus on me in this draft, I need the other people to step up, and Slowpo has been that in pieces. But it is just a case of the Loki's been available on both sides means that these battles go on for way too long. Too many dance floors thrown out from Luna and her copies. It's Lownine, though, that are finding those openings and found a really good start. Now they just need to defend and make sure that all business can't match.
Taking out those group walls, making sure that if anyone makes their way in, they're supposed to be taking quite a bit of damage. It's the plan from Wolver, who will be the one sticking on this group for this round. Maybe Saint Moto has been moved over to that Doctor Strange. And Slowpo just sieging in, forcing them off the central building high ground, as already just kind of vibing on the point. We're seeing Toon pushing in the cart with this Emma Frost bionic hook. It does land, but behind the separate barrier, Wolver is able to pull back.
Wolver's HP is going up and down, and it's not taking Slowpo to make the most of it. He was the one that put a pin in their defensive side with a nice clean engagement. And these resets connect him, but Saint Moto connects just a little bit harder, straight in the face, and it opens the door a little bit for Crisis. Wolver does eventually go down in this state, but Crisis now, he's able to at least play the Punisher. He's got a lot of at least support now. Pink Clone being able to just put some barriers on top of him. He's sat pretty, and he stopped things for now for Lownine.
Right now, all business not really able to deal with Jerky on that backline, causing distractions, causing issues. 2 minutes and 40 to go, as all business need to build up those ultimates again. They have almost everything except for Kraken Impact, but it's going to take a little bit of push. They get back onto the car, and they're going to take it slow, at least for now, until those triggers are pulled. I'd stand corrected, as not going to be already dropping that God of Mischief.
Strangled Prison for Welshmania. whether you can actually get Lownine to sit and play together, because Jerky just in the backline is going to just keep things put onto close sides, whether it forces out the fate of both worlds and forces these two strategist ultimates to be hit together, because we already have the Loki using the God of Mischief. Goddess of Death is going to match on top as we see a little bit of that Asgard Wrath come through, and the fate of both worlds nicely matching in as one song ends, the other is mixed in perfectly on the side of All Business to keep things going. Not stalled out on the same point that they had a problem stopping on this defense. And 4 minutes on the clock to go on for point B.
Fast reactions from Znos there, as a lot of that fight would have come down to if Lownine could have waited out that final ultimate from Closar, and if they'd been able to do that, Jerky could have got a dance to the butterfly, they could have maybe turned that round. But Znos reacting fast, spotting Jerky, and was able to take them out to prevent that turnaround. Meaning that Lownine forced to back up to the defense position, and All Business have taken a very good spot at the top of the stairs. They're trying to focus their damage onto Wolver and will take them down. All Business, the momentum is heavily in their favor.
Yeah, Wolver's going to have a fair few bruises on him because All Business have been punching the ever-living daylights out of him. And now with EMEA sort of mirroring on the group, he's not too far away from having a strangling prison yet again, and it's really enabled clean fights for them and really stopped things for Lownine slowing down. There's still so much time on the board for All Business, more so than Lownine had when we saw them switch sides, that there's got to be a little bit of panic coming in from the defenders. The final judgment's going to try and push things back, and the point is just on the cusp of going through. There's not going to be a contest, Tetcher. They get things going, and we're on to point 3 already.
Tuzi has woken up. They have suddenly decided that Hela is so broken and are just immediately going to pick up KO after KO. They were able to spot Jerky with a Soul Cypher to get the pickup. They were able to spot Saint Tomoto Magonski there and get the pickup. And Tuzi is showing that banning out those 3 characters may not work as well as Lownine had hoped, as they are capitalizing and are on a very aggressive flank here.
He's allowed to be aggressive. He has the Idol Aura that's just going to keep them topped up. And now, just with the environment changing around, it's whether he can spot a gap. He's looking specifically for Pinclone or Gonski. Force out these strategist ultimates a little bit earlier on. Who's he trying to go for the fight? Maybe pull back Jerky to try to peel, and it's looking like Jerky's going to be able to win the fight and engagement. Both going to pull out for the time being. The Psionic Seduction going to be the go button, and 4 people stunned out from All Business from Saint Tomoto's Eye of Agamotto. That was perfect.
The Doctor Strange players, both of them, on Lownine are insane. They get the full team wipe. While they couldn't win the 1v1, Jerky capitalized and didn't even have to ult. They moved back to try and set up a containment at the Fisk building, as there's only just under 30 meters to go for All Business to take this map and the series. And Lownine, they have to now hold for 3 whole minutes.
Now it's building up. The pressure, the ultimates, the moments now, as we do see the copy, that first initial one used to bring us the first of many lunar ultimates that we'll see. Fate of multiple worlds coming through, and Jerky biding the time, waiting for the dance of the butterfly, seeing if he can catch a little bit of a window, especially with that strangling prison. That combination saved things for All Business right at the end. It's found an opening, but it's not found a clear-cut fight, but things are still progressing. Actually, just under 2.5 minutes on the clock and just under 13 meters for All Business to go.
Goddess of Death into the air to try and zone him away. Gets absolutely wiped out of that so quickly. Forced to back up as Jerky takes out Welsh Mania. They're holding right at the finish line. It's so close, but we are seeing Lownine refusing to give a single inch back to the Fisk building. Keep holding here. Every inch matters, and they are committing so much. This Straggling Prison came out, Kraken Impact, but Crisis was kept sustained, was able to drop the counter pickup using that final judgment onto Slowpo, preventing them from getting another reset with that Kraken Impact.
There's the copy that comes in from Zenost. Ultimate gonna come out shortly afterwards. There's the fate of both worlds, and actually just catch Jerky as he's trying to get through. Stabbed in the back by Tuzi, that wants to really start to shine in this one. Had his moment, Silent Seduction. It's gonna push people back. It's gonna keep things churning forward for All Business. They still have 90 seconds on the clock. There's still at least a couple of fights that they can go for. We do see the Strangle Prison used from Wolf, but it's not really matter too much other than Toot to Toot's wrath. Crisis even comes through with a final judgment, but he's taken out almost instantly. Lownine can't hold on for much longer. All Business make this a 2-0, progress into the tournament, and it really shows that Tuzi can have 3 of his heroes banned out. You can't take out the 4th.
Very nicely done. That attempt, very valiant from Wolver to try and hold that with a Strangling Prison, set up walls and just stand there on that point. But we saw it, the Loki, the reason it's banned out, regeneration domain, and suddenly all of that effort was put to nothing. Wolver was focused down, and All Business were able to lock in, get that card to Avengers Tower, and Herbie will have allowed them to move on and get that higher seed when we head into those playoffs, potentially avoiding some of these upper bracket teams from at least the first round or so.
Look at the healing that Sonosta's been able to do. It required a lot, I think, and this makes me really excited to see what we're going to see in playoffs from both of these squads. They might be on opposite sides of the brackets depending on how things go, but you can't say that this Lownine team doesn't compete or compare with the rest of the squads available. All Business, definitely more of a slog, but still, you're going to take the 2-0 up against a team like Lownine. It's very good at least taking a map in these series and making things a little bit more painful, and certainly on a warm day here in Europe, making things a little bit more sweaty.
Yes, the first map, the first series that Lownine have not at least won a map. After pushing so far, almost getting the triple cap in this game at number 2. But they're not out yet. They still have the playoffs to go through. Every team we cast today is in the playoffs. So we get to see them take what they learned from these games, adjust, and move on in. But All Business, they're starting to get that momentum, get that mojo back after being sent down to the lower bracket by Zero Tenacity in a 2-0.
And Jerky, he had his moments, so did Crisis. It really did feel that Lownine were able to get these main duelists set up to be a complete threat. But I think it was really the second point that let Lownine down the most, that All Business were able to keep things moving along swimmingly. And whilst there was a pretty good defense over on point C, where exactly we're seeing these fights take place, there was just too much time bank for All Business to go in and really make it fairly straightforward after they could get a couple of picks and get things moving along. But a good result for them nonetheless.
A good result, an impressive result. All Business move on to that lower bracket final, where they will be playing against either Berber, Patapim, or Zero Tenacity. We'll be finding that out later on, and we'll also be finding out who will play against Virtus Pro between Rad Esports, potentially a rematch, or Insomnia. Those will be our matches that come up to decide those matchups. And I don't know about you, I'm excited for them. But again, all these teams are going to playoffs. They're competing for the optimal spot to try and make their way through to be the first EMEA champions for Marvel Rivals Ignite.
Yeah, and honestly, even though people might say, oh, it's seeding, it doesn't matter, I think the main thing that these teams want at the moment going into not only like EMEA Ignite, but also like the mid-season finals and beyond is just reps. Mostly with this new system that's come in with the advanced draft. So, and sort of seeing where that meta naturally evolves. People are going to be looking at Virtus Pro, what they've been doing with the Adam Warlock for sure, but they also have a couple of ideas that they want to try up against teams like this. Lownine gave it a good go of like, what happens if we use the strategy of just ban out Tuzi? Is there enough impact there? And I guess for the VOD review, it'll give the answers, because I can't say for certain if it was a good idea or a bad idea. It's just whether Lownine will do that in the future against other teams once we get to playoffs.
The fact is, Lownine put up an incredibly good fight with this strategy. The question is, like you say, other teams can look at this, maybe iterate on it. Every game you show something is a game other teams can learn something from. And with Lownine doing some very flexible stuff, taking a couple strategies from Team Peps even, who put up some really good fights, these teams are all learning not just from each other, but from other regions. We are seeing so much flexibility and so much evolution. And let's talk about the evolution of playstyles as this draft has gone on, as we have Zenost here to talk to us from All Business. For starters, congratulations on yet another win.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello again. I think the first question I have is, does bans on that first map, like, not only did we see Lownine missing 2, but also you guys missed 1. I wanted to ask, why did you guys miss 1? Was that just sort of like we'll let you have this one, or did you also make a mistake there?
We were all kind of confused with what was happening. We were wondering if maybe the map was going to be reset, if maybe Lownine can do their drafts again, and then while we were talking, the person who was banning wasn't the usual person who was banning, so he forgot he had to ban. Stuff just happened.
It was literally just in the chaos it happened. And the same thing happened to OG as well, that the usual person that was in that seat wasn't really expecting it and got caught out. But what was that first map like, right? You have the Magneto, the Emma Frost, and then also the Loki and the Lunar Snow. It must have felt like you were running back into the Stage 1 championships, perhaps.
Yeah, the main problem was such an unrealistic team comp that we hadn't even ever played this before in like a month or something. So we were a bit confused on how to start on this. But the picks were so strong in the end that we can just win it all.
And we've already talked to you about the potential for how we've been seeing the bans consistently onto TuZ with that Psylocke. This was taken to yet another level, but you guys did surpass and overcome that difficulty. But how much preparation did you have for that eventuality, as we've slowly been seeing the bans against TuZ rise?
We were wondering if there might be a torch ban, but we never expected all 3 bans, and we had a special situation today as well, in which TuZ had to, in the first game he disconnected, he had to use his hotspot to come back again, and Slop was playing from his sister's house because he also didn't have internet. And then we had an unusual ban against us. We were all kind of, it was very chaotic, to say the least.
It was a weird day, it seems like, but you're able to sort of come out on top, you progress in the tournament. The last question I have for you, what is it that your poster says? It's been on my mind since we last spoke yesterday, and I'm really curious on what it says.
It's in my head that just made sense. It's I have that poster for multiple years. I don't even remember when I first got it, but I think that actually fits what we're doing in drafts sometimes, where I think, oh, this makes sense, but then it doesn't even make sense in the end. Which was something that happened in these games, but our DPS players showed very flexible strength. Sloppo popped over on the Bucky, TuZ went on the Hela, and we had very good games. Dodge went on the Groot, Toot on the Hulk.
In your head, it just made sense, and in the game, it just worked. You move on, you're going to be getting a slightly better seeding, and you're going to be playing against either All Business, or either Burbo Patapin or Zero Tenacity. Thank you for joining us, Zenost. We look forward to seeing you as the games go on.
Thank you very much. I hope you have a good day.